Hey, everybody. Welcome to the weekly Nintendo News Roundup live each and every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. The All In Crew breaks down the weekend Nintendo news. Come heck or high water, man. Literally, in this week's case.
Yeah. So hopefully we make it to the end of this broadcast.
We'll see. I'm doing like that typical like weather reporter guy, like out on the field, like in the middle of the hurricane with the parka, like in the rain's going, so it's raining cats and dogs out here, Eric. That's me on the scene tonight. So okay, a little bit of preamble here while we're letting people file in here live on youtube.com/allinpodcast, of course. It's been a week, man. We've had to like reschedule our recording several times for the main show this week. Then last night rather, in the middle of recording, I had a crazy thunderstorm out of nowhere, knocked my power out several times, then knocked my power out because there's like also wildfires going on around in my area, and then like my power got knocked out for like 15 hours, and now here we are minutes before starting this. And now rain, like thunderstorm happening again outside. So, we'll see. Some of that might come through. Hopefully we make it to the end of the news roundup, though. We'll see, man. God bless us all.
It's raining meowths and growliths.
That's right. And matter of fact, my own little growlith is here in my office as well, who may or may not. You might see her come through the camera. You might end up hearing her on the mic. I don't know, but she's too scared and she wanted to be in my office. Because, dogs, they think the world's ending outside whenever it's thunderstorming. So, but Eric, let's get into it, sir. You know what we got to do first, though?
For the time being, we have to shout out all the people that we are happy who continue to give us power.
That's right. Our patrons at patreon.com/allinpodcast. Big thanks to y'all for throwing a few bones our way and making the dreams come true. We want to thank our Golden Banana tier supporters like Rob Yapel, Third Strongest Mole, Sean, Shano, Baggins, Ashton, Tim A, aka NeoPrime33, aka Nintendo Dad number 4, Matt, Shy Guy City, Murray, Phelan Ward, Bill Tucker, Marcus O'Neill, Liam D, Bowza, Gamer Jason, Andrew Wilkins, and Foolish Fuji. Big thanks to our Golden Banana Bunch. Moving to the Triforce tier. We need to thank Josh Vaughn, the godfather of Tingle Love Tuesday, John Datfast Cummins of the Retro Logic podcast, as well as the On Topic Retro podcast, the Globetrotting Jet Set Nintendo Hub, and Sparky of the Nintendo Hub right here on YouTube, Adam Caparello of the Retro Groove podcast, as well as the Octorock 1982 YouTube channel, Shy Guy, the other half of our Shy Guy mod squad. Thank you, Shy Guy. Daniel Inahosa, Dan and Luma, Solo Something, and the legend himself,
the thunderstorm in human form, Uncle Randy.
Crashing on through with the support, Uncle Randy. Thank you very much, Uncle Randy. We love it very much. Thank you all for your support on Patreon. You can head over there, see which tier works for you. Get a 7-day free trial to the Golden Banana tier. Get a bunch of exclusive content and perks for doing so. We appreciate you very much. We got merch at bit.ly/allinmerch. Links to that are, of course, in the video description if you're watching us on YouTube. You can also, if you're listening to us on an audio feed, you can leave us a 5-star review. Also very appreciated. But Eric, we do have a lot of news to get into this week. And another little disclaimer that should be made. Pour one out for Navi. Navi has been with us for a long time, but we've been having some issues with Navi the past couple of weeks. Navi did officially tender her resignation and has left. Sadly, we're announcing the departure of Navi from the All In crew. So,
hey, listen, indeed.
Hey, listen. It's almost. I mean, like the departure of Navi is sad, but we did actually have an even sadder departure this week, Eric.
We did, yes. It is truly the end of an era. I know it's already several days old, but I mean, it is the biggest news story potentially of the year for Nintendo. So, like we do every week, let's talk about it.
That's the thing. This is normally when Navi would say, hey, listen, what do we do? but we do need to talk about it. Charles Martinet.
Soundbite.
I,
Soundbite.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to do. Well, we're just gonna have to figure out a way forward. Really, I just don't like. I can't get Navi to work on the stream anymore for some reason, but it's fine. We'll figure it out. What did happen this past week? Of course, yes, Charles Martinet, the longtime iconic voice of Mario, who has been the voice of Mario for some 30 years now, is no longer the voice of Mario. Got a tweet on Monday morning from Nintendo that read, Charles Martinet has been the original voice of Mario in Nintendo games for a long time, as far back as Super Mario 64. Technically untrue. Charles is now moving into the brand new role of Mario Ambassador. With this transition, he will be stepping back from recording character voices for our games, but he'll continue to travel the world, sharing the joy of Mario and interacting with you all. It's been an honor working with Charles to help bring Mario to life for so many years, and we want to thank and celebrate him. Please keep an eye out for a special video message from Shigeru Miyamoto and Charles himself, which we will post at a future date.
Yeah. And as far as the news goes, that's kind of the brunt of it. As of this recording, we don't have that video message yet. I would postulate that we're probably going to see it here shortly, potentially at Nintendo Live next week, or during the probable Nintendo Direct that we're going to get in September at some point. However, at this point, that's really all we know is we have official word from Nintendo that Charles Martinet will no longer be quote unquote voicing in our games. And Charles himself retweeted that, reposted that, however you want to say it these days, and said, you're all number one in my hearts.
Yeah.
And that's all we've heard in that regard. Everything else at this point is just conjecture and speculation. And we don't want to add fuel to that fire because the truth is, we don't really know any of the specifics behind it. They could very well go into some of the specifics behind it during that message, but more than likely, that video message is just going to be a very elongated and very well-deserved thank you from Shigeru Miyamoto, Nintendo, and the rest of the team over there at the Big N, and probably an equally gracious thank you from Charles himself for letting him voice the most iconic character in an entire entertainment medium for a full 3 decades. Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, there's, they're keeping things pretty close to the chest. And I think I think for both sides, that's very intentional. And frankly, it's none of our business.
Right.
There doesn't seem to be, at least from the outset, there doesn't really seem to be much animosity. And there's not a doubt in my mind that there will continue to be a fruitful and positive working relationship between Charles in this role as a quote unquote Mario ambassador and between Nintendo. It feels kind of like Stan Lee's position in Marvel for like the last 20 years he was alive, where he was essentially just this figurehead who went around spreading the good word of comic books and superheroes. There's not a doubt in my mind that for the remainder of his time on this planet, which I hope is a considerably long time still, that Charles will till his final days be just spreading the good word of Wahoos and Let's-a Goes.
Yeah, I think you're going to continue to see him at conventions, and I think you're going to continue to see him
absolutely
signing prints and taking pictures and being his joyous self and kind of, hanging his hat still as Mario, because and I will say too, for anybody listening to this, on the main show, All In a Nintendo Podcast, which is our weekly Nintendo variety podcast that we post every single Saturday, there are links to that in the video description as well if you're watching us on YouTube. We are dedicating an entire segment to Charles and his icon status and his role as Mario, and we have a nice long conversation just kind of going down memory lane and talking about what that voice has meant for so long. So if you want to hear some more just honorment and love for Charles Martinet, you can find it there. But it is an iconic voice, and it is unprecedented. He's in a league of his own. There's no second place. He has defined, video games in voice for, generations of people. And we have had confirmed that the voice in both Super Mario Brothers Wonder, which is coming out in a couple of months, and WarioWare Move It, that will not be Charles Martinet. in either of those roles. We don't know who it'll be. Nintendo's official response is beat the game and find out in the game's credits, which is hilarious. So
the biggest thing that I wonder moving forward is I wonder if they are going to continue to be voiced by the same person, albeit by the new guard. So, obviously, especially with Super Mario Wonder, Nintendo is taking, like, it really feels like Mario is coming into a new era of the character with this brand new platformer. So maybe they'll try to really flesh out the big four when it came to the characters that Charles Martinet voiced, which is, of course, Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi. Having them voiced by different people and having the voices be truly unique and truly individualized could really help, bring these characters into this new era of characterization. Just like the visuals are doing for Mario Wonder, they could follow that up with a brand new voice cast. And I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. And I'm gonna be really interested to learn about the rest of the cast. Is Kenny James recast as well?
Yeah.
We don't know. Kenny James, the longtime voice of Bowser, we don't know if he's going to be recast. I think the current the person who's been voicing Peach, who also, what another kind of funny tradition is, the person who voices Peach also voices Toad, and used to be Jen Taylor. Back in the early 2000s, the voice actress of Cortana used to be Princess Peach and the Toads. And that went to, I think her name is Samantha Kelly, if I'm remembering right. And she's been the voice of Peach and Toad for quite some time. So I'm wondering if those characters are getting recast as well. It wouldn't necessarily surprise me, but we haven't heard one way or another. Charles is the only one that has been officially, recast and announced by Nintendo. So.
Yeah. And, I know I can sit here and say I wouldn't mind if Nintendo paid 4 separate people for a job. I'm sure Nintendo would be like, if we can pay one person for the job,
well,
we're probably just going to do that.
To be honest, and I texted you this, and by the way, hey, Locklith, shout outs to Locklith. I said, look at these two nice gentlemen. Hey, Locklith, watching us live right now. I will say that,
where's the second one?
Yeah, right? Yeah. I did, the cynic in me was thinking like, oh man, please don't tell me they're just going to like use an AI, basically Charles Martinet voice.
No.
But that isn't what's happening.
No.
Yeah, not what's happening. Although, another thing that should be kind of notated here is that the fans did notice. Like when Mario Wonder, that first Mario Wonder trailer and the WarioWare Move It trailer came out in that June Direct, the fans did notice that it wasn't him. There was a vocal minority of people who said that don't sound like Charles Martinet. And personally, I heard it and I was like, tracks for me. Maybe it sounds a little weird, but it sounds fine to me.
Well, I mean, we just kind of expect it. It was part of the norm. It's a Mario game. Of course it's going to be Charles Martinet. He's been Mario since the mid-90s. Yeah. Of course it's Charles Martinet. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, and not only that, but like, the new actor is very much taking, the cues from, I made this comparison before. It's the Mickey Mouse thing. Mickey Mouse is always going to sound like Mickey Mouse. Mario's always going to sound like Mario because of Charles's direction and the way he's taken those characters. He did establish those characters, and whoever, this is, probably not going to be the last time. It certainly won't be the last time these characters are recast. If that's in our lifetimes or not, these characters will have further roles and they will have further voice actors portraying them because these characters are iconic and will last for a very long time, well beyond the scope of the actors able to portray them. So the passing of the torch does have to happen at some point. It might as well be now. We're in the Switch era. There's a lot of the passing of the guard. This is something I've talked about before. When it came to Mario Odyssey, that game felt like a big passing of the torch moment. Like, that game felt like, like it was really powerful when the credits started to roll and it's alphabetical. Yeah. And it's like we're all on the same page. It's just a list of names and Shigeru Miyamoto is in there with the other M names. I thought that was a really powerful statement at the end of Mario Odyssey. That, of course, was the last 3D Mario. And you gotta wonder, like, now that we're coming into Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which is a new, refreshed take on what started it all, it does feel like a a reboot, frankly, of Mario as a concept. Because now it's like, what does 3D Mario look like going forward? And it does feel like a symbolic thing more than anything. Charles Martinet could have voiced Mario until the day he died, and would have. But I think that this is a symbolic move of like, this is a refresh, and so the voice needs to be refreshed too.
And I'm very receptive to whoever is going to be portraying Mario. I mean, we have no reason
We should all be.
not to be receptive. And exactly to your point, what I was just about to say is I would like to call to make sure that nobody out there who feels whatever type of way about this 30-year part of our lives now being over, if you feel anxious, if you feel even mad about it, whoever is the new voice of Mario is not the person to lash out at if you feel any type of way about it. I, for one, am very excited to see the center perform, and we'll be very happy to see their performance in Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Just another big, interesting reason for me to be excited about this game that's less than 2 months away for us at this point. But again, just if you feel some type of way, that's not the person to lash out at.
Yeah, I agree, and it's really, more than anything, just to, to salute Charles for the work that he's done, and achieving the icon status that he has, and truly embodying that character and establishing what that character will mean until the end of time. That his work will live on forever, and again, like, we're gonna see many people take on the red cap and the blue overalls.
Possibly, yeah.
We will see. That's gonna happen. But Charles Martinet, always gonna be my Mario.
Yeah, I do feel bad a little bit for the new guy, because it's probably going to wind up being a lifetime of you were okay, but you weren't as good as.
It's, the comparisons have been made to like Kevin Conroy, right?
Exactly.
Where
I've made that comparison.
Sure. I mean, and that's a fair comparison to make, where, Kevin Conroy, voiced Batman and defined that role. I mean, anybody who comes in after is going to have enormous shoes to fill. That's just the reality of it. But yes, I think you make it. I think I'm in complete agreement with you that we need to just be receptive to it.
Yep.
And again, like, credit where it's due. When I saw that Mario Wonder trailer, yeah, that tracks. Like, makes sense to me. I think he's doing great. He said wowie zowie and turned into an elephant. Cool. Like, yep, I'm tracking. So I think that and the Mario ambassador role thing, I think that there's a lot being done to honor what Charles has done, and that is, I think, a treatment that voice actors don't always get. A lot of times they're unceremoniously recast.
Yeah.
But I do think this idea of a Mario ambassador, especially as Nintendo is actively expanding into other forms of media, especially with the ridiculous runaway success of the Super Mario Brothers movie earlier this year, I do think there is value in having a type of role like that. Because as an ambassador, by title, you are somebody who is, who would be a great go-between for other forms of media if you're trying to continue to expand the reach of this character across other media. So I do think there is a lot of value in that potential role as well. And I have no doubt that whatever Charles is going to do from here on out, he's absolutely going to crush it. He's been crushing it for 30 years. There's certainly no reason to think he's going to do otherwise.
Yeah, I think so too. So all the best to Charles in the new adventure. Thank you, Charles Martinet, for everything that you've given to to us and to the role, and the meaning that those wahoos have meant over the years. We appreciate you. The last video game that Charles Martinet appeared in as Mario was Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which instantly gives that game, I think, a lot more meaning as well. And of course he had, spoilers if you haven't seen the Mario movie somehow yet, he did have some very meaningful roles in that movie as well. And the last spoken word that Charles Martinet had in Nintendo's universe was "These are my boys," referencing Mario and Luigi, which I just think is beautiful. And, so all the love in the world, man. Shout outs to you. Yes.
Always. And if you have any spare time, now that you're not, maybe come on and,
if you,
for...
the invitation's always open. We've had Kenny James on the show.
We did,
we need to get Charles Martinet on, complete the cycle, So, yeah, man. Okay, well, we do have some other news to get into as well. That was by far the biggest news, but there is some more.
There is some pretty significant stuff that happened. Yes, of course, this past week was Gamescom. It's actually still going on right now as of this recording, but we did have opening night live a couple nights ago, and some weirdness at the beginning of the show to one side. There were a few significant announcements. As a matter of fact, a few significant announcements in regards to having a Nintendo Switch logo attached to it, which is nice because, admittedly, the Summer Game Fest, Gamescom, not necessarily the place for a lot of big Nintendo announcements. Typically, those are found at Nintendo Directs, but certainly a few things worth talking about from this show, and we got one of them pretty quickly off the bat. Jeff Keighley made it very clear to everybody coming into opening night live that it was going to be about game updates, that there weren't going to be a lot of big surprises. We weren't going to get a lot of announcements to try to temper people's expectations. But very quickly they backpedaled on that just a tad and saying, well, we do have a little something for you. And lo and behold, Supermassive Games announced the third game in a trilogy beloved by Seth and myself. We are getting a new Little Nightmares. Eric, happy.
Yeah, man. Little Nightmares 3 looks great. It's coming next year. It is coming to the Nintendo Switch. It's going to have online co-op, which is awesome. And especially Little Nightmares 2, no spoilers, but it ends on a huge...
Oh my God.
Cliffhanger, I guess, but the way it ends just sets up the universe of Little Nightmares so well. And there's also the universe of Little Nightmares seems to be something that they're very cognizant of. They announced a new podcast called, I think, The Sounds of Nightmares, which is now, I think, the first 2 episodes of it shadow dropped, a new podcast in the Little Nightmares universe. So they're really expanding Little Nightmares quite a bit here with this third entry. Looks to be the biggest and most bombastic entry yet. I can't wait.
I can't either. The first 2 games we've done indie showcases on the main show, and this is just another game. I mean, it looks like Little Nightmares. We got to see quite a bit of gameplay for the game. I mean, it's not really super cinematic. It's one of those games like Limbo, like Inside, for those of you out there who may have played Planet Alpha. It's this kind of contiguous 2D physics-based puzzle platformer series with a ton of just grotesque and kind of nightmarish creatures that really flesh out, pun intended, the nightmare-inducing fuel and it's so good. It's so great. And both 2 games are available, like we said, on the Nintendo Switch. This third game is coming to the Nintendo Switch, and I'm very much looking forward to not just playing the game, but like you said, the second game really kind of puts the universe in a place that's really intriguing. And by the time I finished with the second game, I was just really excited to see where it goes from
I need
there.
I need the third one now. Bowser in the chat says, I still need to play Little Nightmares 2. Yes, you do.
It's really good.
It's
really good. The ending sequence, especially in Little Nightmares 2, is insane. It's so good. I was a little surprised. They had a pretty substantial DLC chapter they added to the first one. We never really got anything like that for Little Nightmares 2. But, I mean, if that meant that we got Little Nightmares 3 sooner, then I'm okay with it.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And actually... That does segue us into a couple of Sonic announcements fairly well, because we did get some Sonic Frontiers DLC announced, which is, it's kind of funny because this is kind of what we were sort of talking about too, this Final Horizon DLC, a free update coming September 28th, adding new story, new characters, new challenges, which is all fine and well and good. We had a little trailer for that.
Yeah.
But that is the vibe I was getting from it, was exactly what you just said. Man, these resources could have gone somewhere else, but hey.
I don't know. It feels weird. It feels like Sonic Frontiers has, Sega is trying to hype us up for the new Sonic game, Sonic Superstars, which I think they're doing a fairly good job of doing at this point. So it does feel a little weird that we're still not necessarily living in the past, but they're like, hey, be super excited for this next game, but also, go back and we've got some stuff coming out for this old game. It does feel like a little bit of a step back as they're trying to gotta go fast forward. But it is, again, new content for a game that both you and I really like. It's been pretty far out of my mind for quite some time. As much as I do enjoy the game, I don't feel like I'm remotely in the headspace to go back to that right now. I feel like I'm going to completely have to relearn the game. But I am interested in seeing what this final chapter brings to the game. It is absolutely worth noting that this DLC for Sonic Frontiers is free. This is another big free update. So, I mean, that's the right price for me. I don't know about you, but it's worth me turning the game back on at the very least and seeing what it's about. I'm interested in seeing if the new characters, who, I mean, are going to be Tails, Knuckles, Amy, possibly even Robotnik. We saw him in the trailer as well on the side of the main characters. So maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something with Sage as a playable character. Who knows? But I'd be pretty interested. I do wonder what the interest level is at, though.
That's the thing. I know there are going to be some people who are going to download it, and if like the most hardcore Sonic Frontiers fans, I think will be into this. But I have to imagine that it is such a minuscule amount of the game's almost a year old. You know what I mean? So it's like, at a certain point, it's cool that you've done this, but at a certain point, you do kind of got to move on, And I don't know, man. I'm all, but it is full steam ahead for Sonic Superstars, which we did get a new trailer for. The game continues to look great. It's coming October 17th, just 3 days before Super Mario Wonder. And look, man, I gotta say, that to me actually illustrates a lot of confidence in this game. To me, that is brass from the Sonic team that we do not normally see of you know what, we're not afraid of Mario.
It's like 2023 is so goated at this point. It's like the year itself is just saying, you know what, just for, hex and giggles, I'm just going to drop 2 AAA 2D platformers within 3 days of each other here in October. I can just basically do whatever I want at this point. I just just the idea of a AAA 2D platformer, a brand new, not a re-released or a deluxe or anything like that, a brand new AAA 2D platformer in the year 2023 alone blows my mind, much less the fact we're getting 2 of them within 3 days. It feels like 1991 again, almost, with Sonic and Super Mario World.
They could have dropped this earlier, later, if they wanted to get away from Mario Wonder, if they were worried about Mario Wonder. This to me says we're not. And that to me, I think, is a huge show of confidence in the quality of the game. And actually, just the release date alone makes me more interested in Sonic Superstars than I think I've ever been, to be honest. And I was already looking forward to it. The pedigree behind it, I think the game looks great. Yeah. But this is, I think, a real all right, no, I'm not moving. We're here. So I like that a lot.
It's you got 4-player co-op, we got 4-player co-op. Matter of fact, son, we got a battle mode. Oh,
I like it. I don't know. I like it. I like it a lot, man. So we'll see. We're certainly gonna keep our eyes on it. Eric, there's also some Mortal Kombat 1 stuff. So I'll go make myself a sandwich. I'll be back. I'll go ahead and take a shower or something.
I promise I will keep this under an hour. I swear I will keep this under an hour. But yes, we did get another brand new trailer for the forthcoming Mortal Kombat 1, which showed off Empress Sindel and General Shao, not Shao Kahn, but General Shao, returning from Mortal Kombat 11 in Liu Kang's new era. And I mean, they look really cool. I really enjoyed the trailer. It wasn't as big of a reveal as several of the other trailers because, these are both returning characters from Mortal Kombat 11. It wasn't as big as Reptile returning, or it wasn't as big as Havoc returning, or Serena, or any of these other characters, but it's still really cool to see them. I love their redesigns. I absolutely adore the redesigns for both Sindel and for General Shao.
General Shao, I think, is going to the same blacksmith that Kratos is, because he got himself a brand new magic returning murder axe, just like the Ghost of Sparta did. But in addition to General Shao and Sindel, we also got the returning Motaro from MK3. If you remember fighting that giant centaur jerk back in the arcades in the early 90s, he's returning. And in addition to this trailer, we got another combat cast this week, just yesterday, as a matter of fact, which went over both of those characters and the brand new and completely rebooted Rain. I did think it was funny because he plays a little bit like the character Cetrion from Mortal Kombat 11 with his zoning, which is he has a lot of projectile attacks, and a lot of his game plan takes like far range attacks. He plays a lot like Cetrion from Mortal Kombat 11, so I've seen a few people online calling him a Wetrion.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like that.
I like that. I thought that was funny. But yeah, Rain is going to be a huge zoner. He's got multiple cancelable projectiles. He's got a ton of really interesting tools. General Shao has some really cool stuff to where he can actually leave his axe in the ground and the axe can do stuff independent of the character. But within the FGC, everybody has been losing their mind about Sindel and her abilities since the combat cast because of her ability to manipulate the cameo characters. She actually has quite a few tools that are cameo-centric. She can buff her cameos to make them come out even faster and recharge faster. She can actually, like, there's a combo breaker mechanic in Mortal Kombat 1. She can actually counter the combo breaker with her abilities. She can even steal the opponent's cameo.
That's interesting.
She has some absolutely bonkers tools. And a lot of people have been, really scared to see her online since that dropped, and really, really praising NetherRealm for a lot of the creativity that they're showing with some of the characters here. Like, we've got Johnny Cage's hype meter, we've got Sindel's insane new cameo shifting abilities, General Shao with his axe stuff. So just more and more reasons to be excited for Mortal Kombat. Again, comes out September 19th. We've only got a couple characters left to reveal, which I assume will be coming in the next week or so. But we'll time. What did
I wasn't keeping track.
Okay.
I think you did good, though. I think you did good.
Okay. Trying to keep it on. But yes, more reasons to be excited for Mortal Kombat 1, and I'm sure if you are already, you're going to. There's a ton of spoiler stuff online. They've had a ton of YouTubers and content creators that have had hands-on with like a near full version of the game. So stuff like story mode and stuff like this new Invasions mode, the single-player content. A lot of that stuff is cropping up online along with skins and other details. So be careful online if you don't want too much of it spoiled for you, because there's a lot of stuff out there now.
Yeah, nice. Well, I know you're looking forward to it very much. So I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts when the game comes out again in less than a month at this point.
Yes.
But the last thing that's Switch relevant. Now, we did break down every kind of big non-Nintendo announcement from Gamescom opening night live during All In Side Quest, which is a Patreon exclusive show that we do, and that'll go up when I can put it up. And so patrons can look forward to that. But we did get a big surprise, I feel like, out of absolutely nowhere. This game, Thank Goodness You're Here, that is coming next year to the Nintendo Switch, that just looks like this colorful Cartoon Network style, like British humor, like very like kind of like fun and like bombastic and out there. The art style alone has me interested in this one.
It almost looks like Steven Universe meets Untitled Goose Game or something. Kind of the vibes I'm getting. Regardless, it looked completely different from anything else shown off at Gamescom opening night live. In and amongst these massive AAA, super photorealistic, Unreal Engine 5, high fantasy action extravaganzas, you have a game that looks like this, which sticks out in all the best ways. And that alone made me interested in it. It, like you said, looks like it has a very kind of tongue-in-cheek, very British sense of humor. But it was confirmed for the Nintendo Switch. We didn't necessarily learn too much about it,
But if you're a fan of stuff like, I think, regular show or a lot of Cartoon Network shows of that ilk, maybe a little Gravity Falls in there. What was it? The Bubblegum, or you know what show I'm talking about?
Yeah. There's what's it called? Like the Fantastic World of Gumball, is that it?
Yeah, Gumball. I
Yeah,
think
Gumball.
yeah.
Yeah, it's got
So if
that,
you're
it's
into
got,
stuff like that, I think this might be up your alley.
it's got modern Cartoon Network energy.
Yeah.
The art style. It has like there's I really want to know like the artist, cuz there's a couple of like modern Cartoon Network shows that this looks very similar to.
Yep.
There's a short-lived little show called like Apple and Onion that like looks identical, to the point where if I learned that it was the same like art director, I would not be shocked at all. But it's got
Me
a
neither.
little bit of adult humor to it as well. The premise here on the listing is, thank goodness you're here as an absurd comedy slapformer set in the bizarre northern English town of Barnsworth. As a traveling salesman, take the time to see the sights and meet the locals who are very eager to give you a series of increasingly odd jobs. So, and it's published by Panic, which I believe was also the publisher of Untitled Goose Game. So that might be an apt comparison that you made there, Eric.
Well, I mean, like that iconic movie quote says, "You had me at Slapformer."
Slapformer, man. So very cool. That was a highlight for me of Gamescom opening night live. So that was really cool. But that's the main like Nintendo related news.
Yeah.
Honestly, more Nintendo related headlines than we typically get out of Gamescom.
Yeah. And it came from games mostly that we didn't even know about. So again, even though I still think it was good that Jeff Keighley went out of his way to temper expectations about new game announcements, but we still got a couple good ones. They look interesting, and the new games announced are coming to the Nintendo Switch. So some really cool surprises in there, in and amongst stuff for the PlayStation and for the Xbox. And again, if you'd like to hear us talk more about Opening Night Live and want to hear more of our thoughts on the other stuff, this week's episode of SideQuest happens to be all about that. Go figure.
Yep. Nice long breakdown of the Nintendo announcements. So plenty of Gamescom stuff coming from us. But Eric, we also were introduced to a new Pokemon this week. A new Pokemon revealed for the upcoming Teal Mask DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And, we've said I especially have said my piece on that. I'm not going to get on that. I just want to talk about Poltchageist.
I mean, who doesn't want to talk about Poltchageist? It's a Matcha Tea Pokemon, and genuinely one of the most intriguing and I think memorable Pokemon reveals in a very long time. They essentially created this like Japanese cuneiform like ghost story, essentially built around this grass ghost type T Pokemon, which I don't know if it's going to be a separate, like still on the level of Poltchageist, or it's still going to be within that family. I just don't know where it's going to fit within the evolutionary chain for Sinistea. And
yeah, they're considering it a different Pokemon, like kind of what they've done with the Paldean Pokemon, where like in the past we've had Galarian versions, or oh god, why am I blanking on the Sun and Moon? Alolan versions of Pokemon. Like we've had that, but in Paldea, typically it is actually an entirely different Pokemon, which I actually have the website pulled up here for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It says it may resemble Sinistea at a glance, but Poltergeist is actually an entirely different species of Pokemon, which I do imagine it's gonna have an evolution. But it's neat. Like, it's really cool that it like takes the sort of like very traditional, and we've seen this vibe with the Teal Mask, this very traditional Japanese, a lot of the legendaries that are in this DLC are based on Japanese myth. This is like, it's matcha, it's classic traditional Japanese tea ceremony, its ability is hospitality. So, it is very much in line with that very traditional Japanese culture that this DLC is tapping into.
Well, I mean, just like Scarlet and Violet had this past and future motif.
Yes.
The DLC also very clearly, the Teal Mask is much more of a past traditional, a look back kind of idea, whereas the Indigo Disc is much more of a technological, progressive, future forward type of DLC. So, I mean, Poltchageist fits in perfectly with the first part of this DLC. And again, I got super coffee talk vibes from this Pokemon reveal. And I need several other coffee talk crossover Pokemon at this point. I need like Hibiscus and Butterfly. You know, could you imagine like a Hibiscus tea, like a water ghost type or like a fire ghost type for the other one, the butterfly? That'd be awesome. I know it's not going to happen, but I'm just saying that's what I thought of when I saw it. But again, the reveal itself was really cool. Like we've said before, you know, our reservations about the continued state of Scarlet and Violet aside, Pokemon has, credit where it's due, been absolutely killing it with these short form animations that they've been doing. Absolutely killing it. As a matter of fact, the third episode of the Pokemon Path to the Peak came out this week, and I have probably never in my life related so hard to a cartoon character as I have to Ava's dad.
We all live in a Pokemon world. Oh, so good. That show is a delight. Just if you have not been watching Path to the Peak, it is wonderful. It really is I look forward to it every week.
Yeah, it's so great. It breaks my heart. The final episode is coming next week. I want to hear what Phelan. I want to hear what you think about it, because if you haven't seen it, Path to the Peak is specifically about the Pokemon trading card game.
Yes,
and it's really endearing. Again, the father figure is great. The father and mother character were both huge Pokemon fans back in their youth, but of course they're adults now. They don't have time for that. But their daughter found their cards, and she's kind of found this love. And the dad character is just really trying to encourage his daughter, and it's great. And he shows up in a Pikachu hat, and he's trying to play with the young kids. And I'm just looking at that like that is an exact mirror. Like if in a different timeline where I had kids, like that's me. I'm telling you, Seth, like that is 1000% me right there. That father figure, just like who amongst us hasn't sung along aloud to a couple of the Pokemon trading cards.
So you want to be a master of Pokemon? That's so good.
Do you have
that one scene alone? Like if you didn't love the show by that point, that scene will sell. I think anybody. It's so good, and it's of course like the kids at first look like annoyed in the back seat, but then smash cut, and they're all into it. Oh, it's so good, man. I really love that show. I almost want to do like, I would almost want to do like a review or something of it on the show. I don't know. Maybe that's something we can talk about in the future. But I just really love that show. It's really good.
Yeah. Pokemon has a ton of animation projects going on right now, and like they've been uniformly really good. Bidoof's Big Day is still one of my favorite animated shorts, like of all time. Really interested in this Pokemon Concierge thing. So again, you know, from a game standpoint, I hope that Teal Mask and Indigo Disc, and I hope they patch the game. But again, credit where it's due. These short form animations the company are doing are just really good, man. You ought to be checking them out if you're not.
For sure. So check out the Poltchageist, reveal. Look forward to that. Check out Path to the Peak. Eric, this is another kind of interesting piece of news that came to us. NSO Thursday came out this week with Excitebike 64.
Yes.
Dropping on NSO on the 30th, so in just a few days at this point. I really love the trailers that they have been doing for these. And this one was just a very like 90s, totally rad trailer for Excitebike 64. Very good. Very good. I liked it a lot.
I don't think anything's really going to beat the actual like video game advertisements we had back in the 90s.
Sure.
Those were wild. But it's still great to see these things that are just really embracing the nostalgia and just kind of the childlike joy that we get from seeing these games return. Isn't it like technically the last Excitebike game we ever got? I know we got Excite Truck, and I know there was Excite Bots.
Yes.
But in terms of like Excitebike,
I'm pretty sure that the Nintendo 64 iteration is the last actual one. Please, somebody correct me in the Discord if I'm wrong. But
no, I think you're right about that. I think it's that, and then like we of course do have like the Mario Kart, stages.
Yeah. There's the
Excite.
Yeah.
So,
and I know the Excitebike. I know they show up as an assist trophy in Brawl, and whatever. But I'm interested. This actually is a game that I haven't played. I've played the mess out of Excitebike on the Nintendo, just like I'm sure many people have. That's been re-released to death in 1,000 different ways. I think that was in the original Animal Crossing. It was on Virtual Console, and it's been re-released 1,000 times. I'm pretty sure it's even on the NSO, the NES NSO already. It should be.
Yeah.
I think it's even Excitebike Versus, as a matter of fact.
I think that's right. Yep.
On the NES NSO. I think everybody at this point is familiar with that version. But, I mean, you shift a couple generations, and the game is supposed to feel a little different, right? Well, I'll be interested to see. I haven't ever checked it out myself, so that'll definitely be one that I'm looking forward to, because that drops next week, in just a couple days, as a matter of fact, August 30th.
Yep, coming up,
which is actually probably going to be the night before for us here in the West.
Probably, very, very soon. It's coming up. I'm looking forward to checking it out myself. I don't have a ton of experience with it. It's the kind of I think we might have rented it a couple of times. But yeah, it's one of those things where like I'm looking forward to coming in basically with a fresh mindset. And now there's only 2 more of the announced N64 NSO games that we're waiting on: Mario Party 3 and 1080 Snowboarding. So that's the only 2 that are left. And I am curious if we do wind up getting a September Direct. We kind of assume we are. If maybe September Directs are typically when Nintendo has NSO related news, because that's when a lot of people's subscriptions need re-upping. So I am going to be curious. Yeah, exactly. That's when a lot of people are it's a make or break. It's like, do I re-up this year or do I not? So typically in a September Direct, Nintendo's like, here's some new stuff to be excited about. So I wonder if they reveal the next sort of wave of N64 games in the September Direct. We'll see. Certainly plenty to come.
But putting that online, finding a way to put that stuff online was such a good idea, because, until until this Excitebike trailer dropped on NSO Thursday, I didn't really notice it, but multiplayer racing fans are eating pretty well on the N64 NSO. Of course, we've got Mario Kart, we have Excitebike 64, but we've also got Wave Race, and we're getting 1080 snowboarding. So, I mean, there's a pretty decent little selection of racing games on there, in addition to other multiplayer games. We've got 2 Mario Party games. Of course, you've already mentioned the third one is incoming as well. It would not shock me at all, Seth. It would not shock me at all if we get a Super Smash Brothers announcement this September.
That's a good call. I almost forget that that's not on there. That
I know,
should
right?
be on there. Yeah. That's a good call. I think
you want to sell some expansion packs, because of course the Nintendo 64 is part of the expanded NSO that you have to pay a little extra for. But would Super Smash Brothers sell a few of those? Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you're exactly right about that. But yeah, that's coming. Excitebike 64, August 30th.
Yes.
Look forward to it. I want to talk real quick. Speaking of like retro games, there's a good retro game story and a kind of bad one. I'll start with the bad news first. This past week, it was confirmed by Konami that the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection will run at a reduced fidelity and frame rate on Nintendo Switch, targeting 30 FPS, which is wild. This seems like it wouldn't be a huge deal. I want to point to the fact that the Metal Gear Solid HD Collection back on Xbox 360 and PS3 did run at full 1080-60, and now this version on Switch, for reasons, is running at 30. It will be 60 on the other platforms, but for reasons, I assume because they didn't want to put resources into it, it's running at 30. So,
Listen, I've said 1,000 times before, and I will continue to say that a 720, 30 frames per second game is not unplayable. Back in my day and all that stuff. However, considering that a version of this game on much weaker hardware ran so much better is baffling. And it does make you wonder
what was going on behind the scenes. That wouldn't necessarily bother me if it wasn't for the fact that, again, the Xbox 360 PS3 versions did run
The original
just
versions were at
blanketly.
60. Like
Yeah,
on
that's true.
PS2 it was 60. It's like there really is no excuse. Like this is a situation where there truly is no good reason other than we just didn't want to, optimize for the Switch. And I think it's also, evident in the like absurd file size for the games too, and it just seems like Nintendo Switch fans are getting shafted on the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection, and to be frank, they are the audience that could have benefited from this collection the most.
Yeah.
So we'll see, man. We'll see. We'll see how it is when the full game comes out in October, but I did just want to relay that to anybody who is looking forward to playing this game on Switch. It is going to be the worst game, the worst version of the game for basically no reason.
Yeah, there was some incorrect reporting that came out that was also going to be how it ran on the other consoles. That's
Right.
actually not true.
Right.
So it will perform better on the other platforms, and for whatever reason, Nintendo fans are just kind of getting shafted for no discernible reason. So,
Sure.
I mean, it's still cool that we're getting it, but it is hard to have really dampened expectations and kind of dampened enthusiasm for something like this when you see it.
It's unfortunate. It is unfortunate, but we do have a bit of
Or
good
hard not
news.
to have.
Yeah, exactly. But look, we do have some good news in the world of retro gaming, because we just learned today, as a matter of fact, per a statement from Digital Eclipse, it looks like the Making of Karateka, we said, I think maybe last week or the week before on the news roundup, that it wasn't going to make the Switch launch for the August 29th launch on Nintendo Switch. Well, in North America anyway, this is not confirmed for other regions, but in North America, the Making of Karateka is coming out on the 29th after all on Nintendo Switch. It will make it. So that's exciting. That is the sort of like interactive documentary that Digital Eclipse is putting out about, this iconic legacy game.
Yeah.
So
this old Jordan Mechner classic that you and I have been talking about for a while, the beginning of this Digital Eclipse Gold Master series, that, even as early as today, Stephen Frost on Twitter was teasing about all the exciting announcements they have coming down the pipeline, which I'll be here for, because I mean, when it comes to these types of, rejuvenations of old games, Digital Eclipse at this point has set themselves head and shoulders above the rest in the industry with their work, of course, on the Atari 50 collection, the Cowabunga collection, and, just other works over the past few years. They've worked with SNK and stuff like this. So these are absolutely the people that you want doing it, and their involvement alone makes me really excited, super happy. I was going to wait for this anyway, let it cook. I know Digital Eclipse is doing the right thing, but for them to come out and say, it's like, oh, actually, it is dropping on the 29th, and my heart grew 3 sizes that day.
And we will have coverage of it. So look forward to that.
Absolutely.
You will see coverage both on the YouTube channel and the podcast for that. So look forward to that. We've also got some new game announcements, some update announcements to quickly hit here. We got the Cults of the Lamb free content update that was shadow dropped. Like Don't Starve crossover that they're doing.
Yeah, both Cult of the Lamb and Don't Starve together have new content that came to the game as part of this shadow dropped content update. This crossover that frankly makes a lot of sense, and I like to see it. If you haven't played either of them, go ahead and check them out. But Cult of the Lamb got like a new secret quest, a new villager, or a new cultist rather, in the form of Weber, and Don't Starve, I think, got some icons and other accoutrement, cosmetics, and some other stuff. I don't know if it was as content inclusive as the Cult of the Lamb update, but yeah, there was a really interesting indie crossover shadow dropped content update, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, pretty neat. We also got an announcement just kind of out of nowhere during Gamescom of a Grapple Dog sequel.
Yeah.
Which is really neat and unexpected. Like, they've been teasing an announcement for a little while now. And look, man, like I really enjoyed the first Grapple Dog, and to have grappled dogs, cosmic canines with essentially this game's version of like Shadow the Hedgehog,
Yeah.
like as kind of a co-op partner is really cool.
Yeah, we had Joseph Gribben on the show before to talk about it.
We did.
So
Yeah.
So to be very interested to see that he was kind of trolling a little earlier, talking about their upcoming game announcement and how he was going to have to remove Pablo as his avatar on Twitter and X. And after the game announcement, he was like, "I did a funny," because it's it's still Pablo, obviously. But yeah, Grapple Dog's a really cool Game Boy Advance style, like swinging based platformer. It's really cool. Definitely check it out. The first one's available on the Nintendo Switch. Grapple Dogs is now forthcoming, so super excited for that. I'm also kind of excited for Turok 3 Remastered. That was also announced this past week. I have both of those, Turok and Turok 2 Remastered, on the Nintendo Switch. For those of you who don't know that those are games already on Nintendo's hybrid platform, the third one, Remastered, was also announced, which a lot of you may not even know exist, which is fair. But that was also announced this week.
Yeah, I think Night Dive's also doing, was it Star Wars like Dark Forces?
Yeah, Dark Forces is a lot of stuff coming out this week, kind of in conjunction and around Gamescom. I don't know specifically what of it is coming out of Gamescom, but I mean, Gamescom's a massive event. Everybody's in Germany right now, so Joseph Gribben could be over there showing off new Grapple Dog footage behind closed doors. Who knows?
I think so. We also, there was, speaking of new game announcements, Alien Hominid HD is apparently coming to Switch this year. Alien Hominid Invasion has been in the works for a while, which is kind of like a reboot or like reimagining of Alien Hominid that's supposed to also come out later this year, but it's actually going to co-launch that game and Alien Hominid HD, like the original from GameCube, from Xbox 360. They're going to co-launch together later this year on the Nintendo Switch, and that's exciting. It's a good game.
Behemoth is very quietly working on a lot of things right now. They formally announced that physical for Castle Crashers Remastered that's coming out soon. So it wouldn't surprise me if we got similar announcements for this. Not saying I've heard anything, but I would be interested in seeing something. Maybe.
Pretty cool. Yeah. Some exciting new game announcements. But Eric, that's in the future. What is out now? What are some notable releases from this week?
Well, I don't think we have it in the notes. I just want to hit it real quick. I know I'm the only person who cares about pinball, but there's new Marvel pinball tables and a new Star Trek The Next Generation pinball table. They just dropped a couple days ago on Pinball FX, and your boy has a couple of the biggest scores in the world, so come get me, son.
Nice. Gauntlet thrown.
Yeah, I just had to throw that out there. I know I'm the only one who cares, but Pinball FX, really cool. Check out some pinball tables, new stuff, cool. But that is absolutely not the only thing that released this week. A game that we had to wait on, unfortunately, finally got released. I, depressingly, haven't been able to boot it up yet, but of course, the wrestling-based RPG WrestleQuest from Mega Cat Studios came out this week. Said Mad Cats. That's a very different gaming company. Mega Cat Studios just came out this week, and I am very excited to jump into that. I know there's a couple people specifically waiting on my outlook of the game because everybody knows I am a massive wrestling nerd dork, and I'm incredibly excited to check it out for myself. I shall report back with all my findings, but that is available now on the Nintendo Switch as of the 22nd.
I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on that. We also got Blasphemous 2, which has been actually very well reviewed. Unfortunately for us, not like the Nintendo pals in our Fantasy League draft needed any more help. They got yet another pretty highly rated game. They quietly, both Moving Out 2 and Blasphemous 2 actually got them quite a bit of points.
Oh, they got I forgot they did Moving Out 2. I actually forgot they drafted Moving Out 2.
So currently we're kind of getting stomped right now. We have some more games coming out. It ain't over. It ain't over yet, but they're kind of stomping us right now, to be honest. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We have time. We have time to make it up. So
we're letting them have it for right now. We'll setting
we'll
ourselves up for a dramatic comeback.
That's right.
but Blasphemous 2 does look really cool. As you've already mentioned about the game, it looks like the combat is far more nuanced and far more diverse than it was in the first game. And it still looks amazing. That 2D, like Soulsborne kind of style looks absolutely stunning with their aesthetic that they're working with. It just genuinely looks really cool. So if you like Metroidvanias, if you like Soulsborne, if you like stuff like that, you should really be checking out Blasphemous 2.
Yeah, for sure. Curse Crackers, For Whom the Bell Toils, came out this week. Big thanks. Yeah, big thanks to Kit and Krista's Never a Minute. Not really a publisher, more of a consultancy, but they're helping out with this game. They provided us a code for it. There is a video on the YouTube channel if you want to check it out. Really cool Game Boy Color style platformer, very fluid, very acrobatic. The music's great, the sort of color palette, and it's just, the vibes are right. The vibes are right with Curse Crackers. Check out the YouTube video if you wanna see what the game plays like. I really like it quite a lot. So really cool. Really cool. Appreciate Kit and Krista for sending that our way. We also got, thanks to our friends at Pop Agenda, who sent us a copy of Shotgun King: The Final Checkmate, which also came out this week. It's a chess game, but not really. It is a roguelike, sort of stage-based, like, combat strategy game where you play as the Black King in chess, whose subjects, pawns, bishops, even his queen, have all abandoned him to join the White King's army, and now he is out for bloody, shotgun-fueled revenge. And it's very funny, very tongue-in-cheek humor, and just like has a really actually interesting strategic kind of loop to its roguelike gameplay, has a few different modes to dive into, and really neat. I want to spend some more time with it. There's also a video of that on the YouTube channel too. So
if that one intrigues you, we also, or Seth, also put a video up on our YouTube channel of that, because it's not the easiest game to describe.
Hard one to describe. It's so funny though. Like I really was cracking up the whole time playing that. So yeah, it's really cool. Check it out.
But oh my God, dude, there's just so much. All the stuff that's coming out, all the stuff that continues to come out. We got WrestleQuest, Blasphemous, Shotgun King, Curse Crackers. We got all these amazing pinball tables that 1 billion people are going to download after all this. But it doesn't stop. But I think that's it for us for this week. It's been a big week, obviously. Some massive stuff. The end of an era. Big news coming out of Gamescom, new stuff getting announced all the time. Amazing games continuing to drop, really making Golden Aces season more stressful on us. But we would love to know what you guys are up to this week. And what are your thoughts on all of it? What are your thoughts on Charles Martinet and his legendary career? Let us know. Reach out to us on Facebook at All In Podcast, on Twitter /X. At All In Podcast. Join us on Discord. We would love to have you over there in that amazing community over there. In addition to that, for those of you joining us here on youtube.com/All In Podcast, before you go ahead and like, subscribe, click the bell, all that good stuff to make sure that you never miss a video from your boys here at All In, a Nintendo podcast, and All In Media. We're constantly producing new content each and every week. So much so, Seth, that we even produce exclusive content for our amazing, legendary patrons.
We do at patreon.com/allinpodcast. Friends and supporters over there making the dreams come true. You can get a 7-day free trial to the Golden Banana tier over there and check out that exclusive content for yourself. Check out our merch at bit.ly/allinmerch. Links to that are all in the video description. Very much appreciated. Again, if you're listening on audio feeds to this, you can leave us a 5-star review. That's a very free way to help us out. But yeah, if you're on YouTube, leaving a comment, all that engagement just really helps us out. We really appreciate y'all very much. Thank you.
Yes. And right here at the end, an extra special shout out to the people over at Communication Error. Cheesy, Johnnybo, love you guys.
Yeah, that was nice.
Love you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for that. Love you guys. You're doing great work over there. Make sure to go ahead and check out our friends Cheesy and Johnnybo over there and their podcast
Thank you guys again for that this week. And thank you to all of our legendary patrons. Thank you to all of the amazing people who have dropped words on whatever podcast service you listen to us on. To everybody who has picked up a piece of our amazing merch at bit.ly/allinmerch, and everybody who has just shared our content across this vast and amazing internet of ours. To all of you, we just want to wish you a beautiful namaste.
Namaste. We made it. My power held up. Didn't lose power. We did it. Yeah, we did it. We made it.
Yay!
All right. Yeah, but let me not tempt fate too much, y'all. We appreciate y'all for coming out. Danielina Hosa was in the chat. Locklith was in the chat. Bowza was here too. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate y'all. Tomorrow, I don't know what time. It might go up a little bit later tomorrow, but tomorrow there will be a new episode of All In, a Nintendo podcast. You know, come heck or high water, miraculously, this cursed episode will make it out the door. I'll see to it. But it is a special one because it's a big, in-depth indie showcase on Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which has been my most anticipated game of the year. Big conversation around that. And of course, really sitting in the pocket and honoring the legacy of Charles Martinet. Those are the big focuses of this week's episode of All In. We also, of course, like you talked about, the games we've been playing and stuff as always. So there's a lot of stuff to get into there as well. It's a jam-packed episode dropping on your podcast feed tomorrow. And again, links are in the video description for y'all to check out the podcast. So please
absolutely.
Please
Two of the biggest things of the year we're covering tomorrow on the main show. Do not miss it. But thank you guys for joining us again. We hope you guys have an amazing, amazing weekend. We've got another big one coming up soon. And we can't wait to
next week. Yeah, there's so much to do.
Nintendo Live, and we can't wait to experience all of it with all of you guys. So have a great week, everybody, and enjoy yourselves.
Bye, everybody. See you next time. Bye.